Welcome to the first CPIEA webinar with experts. And today we will be talking to Lucas Nonnemacher. Is that the right name, by the way?
Yeah, Nonnemacher. Yeah, that's all right.
Okay, thank you. So Lucas is an immigration consultant who is authorized by the Canadian government to assist with visa and permanent resident applications. Being an immigrant himself, he understands the importance of thoroughly analyzing the documentation before submission. He's been working with international students for many years, both with the ESL and university college students. Lucas owns Maritimes Immigration Consulting, and he lives in beautiful Halifax, Nova Scotia. Welcome, Lucas, and thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you, Ivan. I'm happy to be here, and I'm always happy to talk about immigration and how to help international students to come and study here in Canada, especially in Nova Scotia. So we can talk a little bit about the most common mistakes that applicants do when submitting a study permit application. So first of all, if you're coming to Canada, the immigration officer, they will have only 10 minutes to review your file, right? So first thing, you have to put like a complete application, right? You cannot miss any documentation. And you have to make you have to put together an easy application for the officer to review. So you have to organize everything, right? You have to make sure that you have everything they want. And every country, they have a specific country requirements, right? So if you're applying, let's say from Colombia, maybe the documents required from Colombia are a little bit different from the documents required from Brazil or China or France, right? So you have to be careful that you're submitting the documents required by IRCC and also from the visa office in your country, right? So the first one is insufficient travel history, right? So if you're coming to study in Canada, Canada wants to make sure that you have true intention to study here in Canada, right? So how do they know if you're a true student? Well, do you have any travel history to other countries, right? Have you been to the US or Europe, right? And they just want to make sure that you enter the country and you left the country, right? You didn't overstay. So it's very important to have travel history. So it doesn't mean that if you never left your home country, you will have a visa refused, but usually they take those applications that have travel history, they have higher chances of approval. Mm-hmm. So it's something that I tell people, if you want to come to Canada, why not take a quick trip to maybe a neighboring country, right? So let's say if you live in Mexico, right? You can go to one neighboring country, or if you're in Brazil, you can go to Colombia or Uruguay. It doesn't really matter, you just gotta cross the border and show that you've been to this country, you stay there for a few days or a few months and return. You didn't work without authorization. You didn't overstay. So this is very important for a study permit application.
That's a very good tip. So you would recommend people to go on a quick trip before applying for the student visa.
Yeah, if they've never traveled abroad, right? But a lot of people, they've been to the US or maybe even Canada, right? So if you already been to Canada, that's really good. Mm-hmm. You are more likely to have a study permit approved if you've been to Canada before, even as a tourist. If you've been to Canada and you didn't overstay, you did everything by the book, you have higher chances of approval in a study permit application.
Fantastic. Okay. So this is the first tip, right? The first common mistake.
So that's one thing that you have to watch out. If you don't have the travel history, I recommend taking a quick trip or,
go on a holiday, have fun.
Yeah, have fun, right? You don't have to go and stay 6 months abroad, but just, have something, at least one stamp in your passport.
Okay.
That's good. That's good.
Okay.
Another thing is proof of funds and source of funds, right? So if you're coming to Canada, you have to show that you have enough money to pay for your program, your living expenses, your air ticket. So you have to show enough funds based on how long you're going to stay here in the country, right? Canada also considers if you're coming here alone, if you're coming here with family, spouse, children, right? So it's very hard to say how much you need. It all depends on what program you're taking, how long you're going to study, how many family members are included in the application. So this is very tricky, and you have to show bank statement, you have to show a history, right, of the money sitting there. So I always recommend sometimes 3 to 4 months, depending on the country. Like I said, every country, they have different requirements, but at least 4 months of bank statements to show that you have, I don't know, $50,000 sitting there in your bank account. Right? And if you have any, large amount of money coming into the account, maybe your father is sponsoring you, right? So get a letter from your father saying, yes, he gave me $25,000. I don't know, this is a gift. And then you explain why there was a jump in your bank account, right? Why there's this large amount in your bank account.
So it's a good idea. It's a good idea to explain this sudden difference in amounts. If you have a large amount coming in, you should explain why this money is coming in.
Yeah, and depending on the country, for example, Brazil is very popular, right, with people who apply for a study permit and they have a sponsor, right? So sometimes it's the parent or the grandparent. So in Brazil, you need to submit tax return, right? Some other countries, you don't need to submit tax return, but in Brazil is required to submit tax return. So if you have, let's say, I don't know, $50,000, and in your tax return, it shows that you earn $700 a month, that doesn't make sense, right? How do you have $50,000 in your bank account if your tax return is $700, right? You've been working for like how long, 60, 70 years to save this money, right? So no, of course I have a sponsor, I have my father, I have my mother, I have someone who is giving me money, right? It's a gift. So you have to explain, otherwise your visa will be refused because they don't believe that this money is legit. Right? So yeah, these are things you have to consider when applying for a study permit.
Very nice tip. Very nice tip.
Yeah, because I had an application where I didn't submit the application, but I was contacted by someone in Brazil who had about 800,000, close to $1 million in her bank account. Her study permit was refused because she did submit the application with her tax return, and she had a salary of like $500 a month, $400 a month.
Doesn't make any sense.
It really makes no sense for you to have $1 million in your bank account and you earn $400 a month. So the thing is, her mom was the sponsor, but she didn't explain. Immigration will not ask for clarification. That doesn't make sense. Study permit refused. Right? So it's not only about money, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think, I have the money in my bank account, I'm good. Yeah, but just make sure that it makes sense, right? Does it make sense that I have this amount of money in my bank account, considering how much I earn and my position, right? Just make sure that is logic, right?
Okay, good.
So number 3, I would say the purpose of visit, right? So when you submit a study permit application, it's important to create a study plan, right? So the study plan is extremely important because you have to explain why are you coming to Canada? What's your purpose of a visit? So if you're coming to study English for 3 months or 5 months, or maybe you're taking a pathway program to go to college or university, you have to explain why, right? Why are you coming to Canada now? Why this program is important? Why did you choose this specific school in this city, right? And why this program, right? So you have to there's no template for study permit, for a study plan. Every student has to create their own study plan. But you just have to explain, right? Maybe I work with I don't know, business, and if I do speak English, then I can get like a management position. Maybe I can become a supervisor. Maybe I can work in a branch that is abroad, located abroad. I don't know, right? So you need an explanation, and then you can say, okay, if I want to study English in my country, it will take years to reach the same fluency that like 6 months in Canada, right? So you have to show like a lot, again, the logic, why, and the purpose of visit. And that's one of the main reasons the study permit applications are refused. They will refuse with a letter saying, I do not believe that you will return to your country of origin based on your purpose of visit. So you probably have seen this letter many, many times. And they issue this letter when people first don't submit a study plan, or they just copy and paste the study plan from the internet. You can find a lot of templates. They're horrible, terrible. If I don't even have to read the first paragraph to see that my client copied a template from the internet, because it's so they try to write so in such a fancy way that makes no sense. And I'm like, you can just talk in plain English. You don't have to look like you have a Harvard degree to write that. Just write in plain English. Okay. You don't have to say those fancy words and so like
simple is good. Simple is good,
right? You're coming to study English. You're not coming here to study at UFT or UBC, right? or even if you're going to college or university. I mean, the officer, like I said, they have 10 minutes to review your application. They're not worried about your if you can write fancy or if you have a very good English. Just write. Go to the point. Remember that the office does not have a lot of time, so he doesn't want to read like, oh, my passport number, this is my address, and this is just go to the point. Why are you coming here, right? That's the goal of the study plan. And make it short, make 1 to 2 pages, no more than that, because they will not read if it's too long, right? They will just skim the document.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So we're going to number 4. So one thing that a lot of people are not aware is that depending where you're from, you need to take a medical exam to come to Canada, right? So for example, again, Brazil needs a medical exam, right? So if you do have a condition that, for example, could be a burden to the public health system in Canada, your study permit may be refused, right? So for example, diseases that they are always looking into is cancer, HIV, diabetes, high blood pressure, kidney failure, these diseases, these problems that can, it can get worse with time. So if it's not under control, maybe your study permit will not be approved, or even your family member, right? Maybe you're coming with your spouse or your child, and if someone has a medical issue, maybe everyone will be refused, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of people, they want to come to Canada thinking that here you have the health system is free. Technically, it is free, but not everyone can access the public health system. You need to be either a permanent resident or you need to have a valid work permit. So there are some restrictions, but a lot of people think Canada, free health system, right? That's the idea. So I even had someone who contacted me one time from the US who wanted to come here because his daughter, she has problems with epilepsy and seizure. And they spend about $40,000 to $50,000 a month in medicine. It's insane. They unfortunately the family is now bankrupt. They have no more money because I think in the US it's really hard to get you know, treatment, and they heard that in Canada you have free healthcare. So the whole purpose of the meeting was like, how can we come to Canada to get free healthcare for my daughter? And I had to tell them, unfortunately, I'm not going to get a visa because you are not admissible to Canada based on health issues. Oh, so that's very, very unfortunate, right? So I mean, if you're healthy, if you have no problems, and again, depending on your country of origin, maybe you don't even need to submit medical, right? Colombia does not need medical exam. Mexico, I don't think you need medical exam. So depending on the country. And then in the future, when you apply for immigration, then you are required. If you want to become a permanent resident, it doesn't matter where you're from, you need to submit medical exam.
I see. Yeah. Okay, great. And the last one.
Last one. This is very important. When I do an initial consultation with someone who wants to come and study in Canada, I always ask, what's your occupation, right? Sometimes people will say, I'm not working. And then I ask, are you studying? No. And then I like, okay, well, so what are you going to do? Are you going to study or work? And then they're confused. They're like, why? I'm like, I'm not submitting an application for a study permit if you're not studying or if you're not working, because it will be refused.
Sure.
There's no point in me wasting my time, wasting your time, putting together an application if you're not studying and working, or one or the other, right? If you're unemployed, bam, application refused. They will not approve that application, right? So it's very important to have an occupation when you apply. So sometimes, you know, I talk to people, they're like, oh, it's really hard to get a job, and you know, the market here is not good for me right now. So okay, so why not you know, start studying English or register for an online course or something? I need something, right? I cannot write on the form unemployed, because right now immigration is using a system to track down the applications, and they do triage, right? So there are some words that if you put in the application forms, they will automatically flag the application and you will have a higher chance of refusal. And one of the words is unemployed, right? So if you do write unemployed on the form, because the form, it creates like a barcode, you validate the form, and then that barcode, that's where the system gets all the information from, and they already put you in one of the 3 tiers. There are 3 tiers. So the first tier is like high chance of approval. So the system automatically separates you into three tiers. One is 90% chance of approval. Second is like, maybe you already had a visa refusal before, right? Maybe you tried to immigrate to another country, didn't work out. The third tier, you're unemployed, you had a visa refusal, you have no travel history, right? So the officer, by the time they get your application and start processing, the system already did all this work. So that's why they have only 10 minutes to review your application, because the system already did an analysis on your application based on the information you provided. So that's why I tell people, unemployed, don't even apply, do something before you apply. Because otherwise you're just wasting money and time.
Yeah, that's right. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there are exceptions, right? Maybe you're fresh from high school, right? You're 17, you're 18. I mean, of course, you have to make sense, right? Does it make sense like someone who just finished high school and wants to come and study in English in Canada? Okay, yeah, that's fine. They're unemployed, they're 17, 18. But if you're 25, 30, unemployed, 40, unemployed.
Yeah, there's a problem there,
No. Right, so yeah, those are my 5 top tips if you want to avoid getting a study permit refusal.
Well, that's fantastic. Those are all great tips. Some of them we know superficially, but after your explanations, they make much more sense to me now, and of course to everybody who works with the students. So Lucas, thank you so much for your tips. I'm happy to say that we'll be having these conversations more often now, and every month maybe we'll be able to bring new information and new topics to our friends. And if you liked this information, stay tuned for the webinars. Next month we'll have another one. And well, that's it for now. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Lucas. See you soon.
Thank you, Ivan. See ya.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.